Hello and welcome to my latest weekly video news from Madison's. Well, the property market, we're now in spring. I think it feels definitely more spring-like. The weather over this bank holiday weekend was predominantly good. Yeah, lots of signs of spring coming to life. So a great time in the property market when the weather is better, people buy properties. And indeed, last week was the best week since the disastrous sort of mini budget the week before that. Back in September 2022. Last week was the best week since then in terms of sales agreed. So yeah, lots more stock coming to market as well. Listings are up, or properties coming to market, certainly against that week. And also, if you looked back to pre-pandemic 2019, listings are up as well. But it is taking sellers longer to find their buyer. So in 2022, certainly in the first half of the year, it took an average of 33 days to find a buyer. That has shifted to 55 days. And one of the reasons for that is all around price. So I know I talk about this quite a lot in my vlogs, that the biggest problem with the property market at the moment is this mismatch between buyer and seller price expectations. And I understand that totally. It can be really tricky when you're a seller and you had an agent perhaps round last year, but maybe you thought it's all too crazy at the moment, let's not go to market, and they gave you a valuation and you anchor on that as a seller. You start to do your sums around it, imagine what you'll purchase, etc., etc. So then when an agent comes around the following year and says, actually, no, it's not that price anymore, it's probably more likely to be this, that can be really difficult for sellers to swallow. And it's a difficult message for estate agents to give as well. It's an uncomfortable conversation, but property can go up as well as down in value. So many sellers sort of saying, well, look, let's try at this price, let's see how it does, and then we will review from there. And yeah, that is something that happens quite a lot. And one thing that then happens a lot with my sellers who we've done that for is they get very nervous about what a price reduction will look like in the market. They think it makes a sign that their house is desperate, there's something wrong with it, it won't sell, it's stale, all those sort of things. But I'm going to kind of like dispel some of the myths around that now, hopefully. This chart here that you're now seeing, so what you can see in 2020, there were 3,622 properties on average had to be reduced in price. That is currently standing at just over 19,000. And if you look back to 2019, number of price reductions stood at around 16,917. So it's kind of back to a pre-pandemic level, but still far worse than in pre-pandemic. But what you can see, a lot more price reductions than we saw in 2022. In 2020 and 2021, and that was because those pandemic years were a seller's market, so sellers could take their property to market and get a great price. The reality is a price amendment means that your property will then often be seen by new buyers. Now, I often feel when you do a price amendment, you can do those ones where, so to a seller, it's really important they get every single penny. And as long as you drop by 2% or more, it will re-alert on the portals. So that means RightMove, if you're set up for alerts, would tell you property reduced in price. And the date resets in terms of the order that you see it. So when you go onto RightMove and you say, hello RightMove, this is what I'm looking for, and RightMove basically vomits stock back at you, normally in date of listing order, unless you change the filters manually yourself. RightMove's automatic response to that will be to show you things with newest listings first. So when you drop the price, that date shifts and you become a newer listing again. So that's good. So they're sort of like tactical price drops. So you're just dropping it by 2% to re-alert, reignite the listing, get new buyers to see it. Then you do the ones that can make it feel like a more meaningful price drop. So it can just feel like a price drop that feels a bit different. So you might go from a high sevens to a more lower sevens, or 790,000 down to say 730,000. Now that is going to feel like a different price. It comes down to the lower sevens rather than the high, so it feels like a meaningful price drop. That's another type of price drop you can do. The third type of price drop you can do is by putting it into a new category on RightMove. That means that buyers might not have seen your property before. So what do I mean by that? Well, for example, if you had a property listing at 750,000, anybody looking up to 700,000 will not see that. They would have to be looking up to 800,000, which means you're competing against properties at 800,000. So if you reduce your price down to 700, anybody then looking up to 700,000 will suddenly see your property. They hadn't seen it before because RightMove had filtered out that it was too expensive for them. So those are the third type of price drops you can do. Now, I find in this market, it doesn't for 1 minute tell a buyer that your property is stale. It simply tells them what they already know, which is that seller expectations are not aligned with them and sellers need to drop their prices a bit. And they get a bit excited. They suddenly see something, it falls into their price point, they're excited, interested, and sometimes we then get more again because you attract more buyers. So in my mind, in this market, a price amendment is never a bad thing. The best thing you can always do is go to market at the right price first time. There's no doubt about that. But if you are where you are, Einstein's definition of insanity is do the same thing but expect different results. The reality is, if you listen to buyers more than anything else, more than any agent, what your friend at the pub thought, let me tell you, they'll all tell you your house is lovely and they'll be staggered it hasn't sold because they're nice and they like you. But you listen to buyers. If you're not getting many viewings, if you're getting lots of viewings and not converting, something's not right. It's either presentation or it's price. So you can definitely do things on your price to make it a better market. Two properties that have just done quite good aggressive price drops that I've got. So one on 6 Somerset Road. This is a lovely property. It's really nice proportions, much roomier rooms than many of them. The plots are slightly wider. It's immaculate, beautifully presented, and has got a really good amount of accommodation space, both receptions. You've got 3 reception rooms actually in that one and a kitchen on top of that. And it's got really good bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, immaculate. That has just been dropped down from 830 to 800. And what about this one on East Cliff Road? Another great one. So this was one that's guided of 775,000 and this one's just dropped down to 725. And it's a great value property. It's had a beautiful extension on the ground floor, lovely open plan kitchen, lovely southwest facing garden, off-road parking, and it's only got 3 bedrooms at the moment, but lots of potential to go into the loft if you wanted to. So 2 really good price amended properties. Already had an offer on one of those already. So you see, it all works, being more realistic on your price. I hope you have a great week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.